Chapter 6: How to keep or drop the girls you meet with online dating. Give yourself a pat on the back, you hooked up with a girl from an online dating website. Not very men can say they've gone all the way to home base with a lady, let alone on the first night and on a dating website. Wow, you're such a stud. Now to explain everything that happens after the first date. Many of the rules in this chapter don't specifically apply to online dating at this point. Most of the issues and rules here apply to any relationship no matter where you met the girl. However, it's required that I talk about these in a book about online dating. What is plate theory, and why should you practice it? Before you learn anything else from this chapter about continuing your relationship with a girl after you met her with online dating, you need to learn what it means to spin plates and how to use this strategy to your advantage. Rollo Tomassi, author of The Rationale Male, puts it in terms better than I ever could. A man needs to have a lot of simultaneous prospects spinning together. Think of each plate as a separate woman you are pursuing. Some fall off and break, others you may wish to stop spinning altogether, and some may not spin as fast as you'd like, but the essence of plate theory is that a man is as confident and valuable as his options. This is the essence of the abundance mindset. Confidence is derived from options. Emphasis original. A man's confidence comes from his power comes from the options available to him. Once you realize that confidence is one of the most attractive character traits women see in men, you'll put the mental puzzle together and see the real reason why women seem so hypocritical in their sexual selection choices of men. Think of hypergamy as a whirlpool that you want to get caught up in. You might be thinking to yourself, it's hard enough to keep one girl's attention, you want me to talk and date 3 or 4 of them. Yes, and as a matter of fact, it's easier to entertain the attention of multiple girls than pushing all your chips on one. Sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? Remember, carry a shotgun, not a sniper rifle. How often should I text a girl I met with online dating? At this point, after you have gotten to know her both in the literal sense and the biblical sense, text messaging and social media needs to take a back seat. Once you've met a girl with online dating, the rules aren't very different now than they would be if you met the girl the old-fashioned way. It's very common to grow attached and place all our chips on one girl who's willing to date us multiple times. You want to always know that, even though she's far away from you, she's thinking about you and loyal to you. Think of whatever relationship you have with a girl as a pendulum, where power swings back and forth between you and her. The more you reach out to a girl, the more power she has over you. The more the girl reaches out to you, the more power you have over her. You obviously want the latter situation, and that's what she wants too. Do not text a girl too often or send her frivolous messages. You should only text or call a girl you've already met in order to arrange another date. Don't ever send her frivolous text messages about random things you're doing or eating throughout the day. Don't ever try to text her purely for the sake of keeping the connection alive with her. Hey, what's up? Just checking on you. Hi there, how's it going? Miss you. Stop. She's having none of it. Have something unpredictable and enriching to talk about, or don't waste her time at all. The very sight of such empty, pandering messages is enough to make any woman, and any man with a spine, cringe to the point of snapping in two. By constantly making yourself available to the same girl, you will ironically kill whatever attraction she had toward you. Your attraction is made by the scarcity of your presence. The fact that you aren't regularly seeing each other at work or at the pub is of great advantage to maintaining your male mystique. Do not lose your cool because she doesn't answer right away. This is another shit test designed to prove a man's mettle. You can be riding high and feeling like a king when, suddenly, the girl drops out and seems to have forgotten about you. This is the reality of the age we live in. At any point in time, someone we thought was a trusted friend or lover, who is always ready to talk to us, could drop us for no apparent reason at all. The amateur will agonize about what the girl could be doing all day that's kept her away. The alpha, obviously, won't give a shit and talk to another girl, or move on with his life. Maybe she's busy, maybe she's blowing you off. In any situation, it never serves your interests to bug her with multiple unanswered text messages. Do not always answer her messages immediately. In all reality, if you aren't living a lifestyle such that you have enough activities that could preoccupy your attention from a girl for the better part of a day, if you have nothing to do with yourself and are immediately and always available, you aren't dating right. Many times, it serves your best interests to put a girl on hold for a few hours, or a day or two. If you've been texting the girl all day, make sure she's the last one to answer before you go to bed. Wait to answer her latest message until the afternoon or evening of the next day. Create intimacy through distance. By no means am I advocating a long-distance relationship, but the point of texting a girl as little as possible serves to preserve your sanity in case she doesn't want you talking to her, or preserve your attractiveness to her in case she does want to talk to you. If a girl ever drops you from her life, know this, it's never because you didn't text her often enough. It was because you were either too available, or she has found a different guy who has mastered the detached male mystique better than you have. Don't spend money on the girl unless she is paying out. I bet this rubs off on your sensitive beta sentimentalities the wrong way, doesn't it? Pay out, you say. How could you be so shallow? True love isn't just some emotionless monetary exchange. Let me ask you this, how shallow is it to demand a complete stranger spend money to take you here and there, and be offended at the idea of reciprocating something he values in return? What's more shallow, sex or money? I'm making a similar point here as in our discussion about who pays for the first date. That point being, for men, dating and relationships with women are literally gambling. You're betting your time, energy, and your money on the whims and passions of women, and we all know how predictable and reliable those are. It's sad how easily men are willing to spend thousands of dollars on their girlfriends, and when you ask them how great the sex is, they stammer and fall silent. On the same token, it's very difficult for a man not to sustain a relationship without at some point compensating for at least his own expenses for dates. In an earlier chapter, I discouraged you from doing nice favors for a girl unless she was reciprocating your efforts with efforts of her own. This is similar advice. Because we are no longer in an age where the masculine ability to acquire resources is appreciated, the amount of money you spend on her and the gifts you pour on her contribute absolutely nothing toward her willingness to be intimate with you. In fact, it makes you look like the beta provider type she can never allow herself to be truly intimate with. Why do girls ghost away from me after a hookup? After I made my big break and finally started hooking up a few times with online dating, that wasn't the end of my struggle and learning. It was just the beginning. With my first several hookups, I had a problem of getting attached after the encounter. I would have a fun night with a girl, I would leave her house or drop her off at home, and within hours of being alone again, I would become desperate. I missed her, and I started to try contacting her again. Sure enough, the girl would see my desperation. She would see my sudden attempts to change our relationship from some casual fuckery to romance for the fraud that it was, and drop me. Ironically, by giving the girl what we are taught that they want, the comfort and loyalty of a romance, she'll lose respect for you and ditch you. What's going on? You are just a fuckboy to her. Women categorize men into two different groups, beta providers, and alpha fuckers. The first type of men are good long-term partners, they have stability and resources and they're loyal to her. However, rarely are these the attractive men women want to have sex with and have their children. That's reserved for the alpha fuckers, who they have their one-night stands with, cheat on their husbands with, and have their true passionate desire for. If you have sex with a girl on the first date, she has placed you in the alpha fucker territory. That means you have full sexual access to her, but you are not trustworthy enough to provide anything else to her. The sadder irony of this is, if you don't have sex with a woman, she'll know you as a beta provider and she will use you for your time, resources, and emotional gratification. She might be your girlfriend, but she isn't going to deem you worthy of receiving her sexual reward. She is going to cheat on you. Therefore, you need to know where you stand with a girl. Once a girl puts you in an alpha or beta position in her life, it's nearly impossible to shift to the other position. Don't break the schema a girl has placed you in. If you're obviously her fuckboy, don't reach out to her for anything except casual fun. If you're her beta provider, then I suggest you find yourself another mistress if you want real sexual gratification. If you can somehow possess both the traits of both types of men, then you are a rare man, indeed. How to prevent girls from ghosting away after a hookup? Keep playing by the rules and don't send the girl any frivolous messages. Don't ever try texting a girl and keep a random conversation going just because you're anxious that, if you don't, you'll lose her. If you honestly have something to say to the girl that's meaningful, by all means talk to her. But every girl, especially the ones you hook up with, will immediately see through your charade and drop you faster than a hot pan. If you just hooked up with a girl, I wouldn't text her again until a few days before you agreed to meet her again, or before you want to make plans to meet her again. That way at least you'll have time to get on with your life, talk to other women, and force your other girl to grow anxious and anticipate your next text message. Who knows? Maybe she'll talk to you again down the road. There's no point in burning your bridges. Sometimes, it really is the case that a girl doesn't want to hook up with the same fuckboy more than once in her life. In these cases, there is absolutely nothing you can do to make that girl ever come back to you. Remember, you can never change a girl's mind once it's made up. So enjoy the ride, and then move on. Before you decide that you're going to have a one-night stand with a girl, be honest with yourself and decide whether you can handle the emotions that will follow if this girl decides you should be dead from her world the morning after you have sex with her. If you're sure you can handle losing her, then go for it and stick to your guns. If you can't, then obviously don't have sex with her. Your emotional integrity is more important than using a girl you have true feelings for to etch another notch in your belt. Men do exactly the same thing to girls. There are girls worth having sex with, but who aren't worth the drama of being their boyfriend. Then there are girls you would go to war to make your wife, which I would argue comprise approximately 1/10,000,000th of the entire female sex. How to deal with post-coital depression. If you are anything like how I used to be before I learned everything I'm teaching you in this book, you might suffer from what I call post-coital depression, a profound, gut-wrenching, potentially suicidal emptiness after you've spilled your seed inside the female body. This psychological malaise starts almost immediately after sex and can last for days or even weeks after your sexual encounter. It's this vulnerability that breeds insecurity, and caused me to lose many girls who would have happily continued seeing me for sex had I just gotten a hold of myself and quit being a dramatic pussy. What goes up must come down. What enters must eventually exit. What is alive must one day die. And nothing that died has ever come back to life. It's finished forever. This, I believe, is the spiritual root of why many men become terribly sad after sex. The ride is over now, it's time to get off and either try sleeping fitfully through the night with this stranger by your side or take the walk of shame back to your own bed for the night. Fortunately, post-coital depression lessens by degrees of a half-life with each encounter, just like nuclear radiation, and just about as psychologically deadly. The sadness comes from realizing the joy is over, and you'll have to wait a long time for the next ride, or you might never lay with such a beautiful woman again. Here is the psychological cure to post-coital depression: practice an abundance mindset, not a scarcity mindset. If one girl of a high sexual caliber was willing to have sex with you, there are many others in this world just like her who will. Yes, it will take more effort to find her, but it most likely will take less effort than the previous girl, because each sexual encounter validates your sexual desirability as a male, both to your own self, and other people who find out about it. Eventually, the shame and loneliness you once experienced after sex will be nearly unnoticeable. The women you sleep with will sense this about you, and might respect you more and stay around longer with you for it. How to know if you should become a boyfriend. There was probably a point before you had sex with a girl, when she asked you, "What are you looking for on this dating website?" or something to that effect. And, if you were wise and read this book, you told her something that could be interpreted to mean whatever it is she is looking for. She was initially looking for a relationship, but decided once she met you that you'd make a good sex friend. Sometimes, women will dump you. But sometimes, women will also grow more attached to you, for the same reasons you would grow attached to her after a hookup: insecurity in one's own value in the eyes of the opposite sex, and a mentality based on scarcity instead of an abundance of sexual options. Or, you might really be just that awesome of a guy, though this is rarer and not wise to assume. If you actually want a girl to be your long-term sexual partner, all the better for you. Just pay close attention to the next section before you dive into a relationship with her. Know what you are sacrificing by becoming a boyfriend. I would admonish any man reading this book about online dating to avoid a long-term monogamous commitment, even if that's what you'd really want out of life, like myself, unless it's for the purpose of child rearing. Hold on. I'm not saying to never become a girl's boyfriend or to see the same girl more than other girls for a long period of time. However, I would never make an overt promise of total exclusivity to one girl unless we were going to go for marriage and a family. That is the only thing the institution of marriage was ever created for: the welfare of children. However, these days women use exclusivity to wrangle men into a state of sexual loyalty and keep women's own options and power over men. If you and a girl are meeting up consistently, and if neither you nor her seem to have any interest in anyone else besides each other, what's the point of declaring an official contract of loyalty between you? Love is organic. Love is voluntary. If he or she wants someone else instead of you, not a Facebook official relationship, and not even a marriage contract is going to do a damn thing to stop people. Be very careful when a girl offers to be your girlfriend, and resist the temptation to jump right in. It sounds like she is offering you a steady supply of sex and emotional gratification. You'll never have to look for hookups just for sex. But what she's making you give up could ruin all of that very soon down the road. Ironically, part of what makes a man sexually attractive to women is the number of options he has for sex. Women will covet an average-looking man more simply for the fact that she sees other women around her want him too. Therefore, if your options suddenly go from 100 down to 1, your sexual attractiveness in the eyes of your new girlfriend is going to eventually plunge by that much too. By becoming her official boyfriend, the girl has secured you as a stepping stone from which she will perch and wait until she can jump to a new stepping stone. This, gentlemen, is the most classic example of a shit test. In this situation, the girl is demanding you to do something, give up all of your sexual options and make me your only one, and if you do what she says, it will ironically destroy all the attraction she initially had for you and you will lose her to another guy, who had the balls you didn't, to stand his ground when she made the same demand of him. The only way to keep her attraction to you is if you defy her and do the exact opposite of what she is asking you to do. Let me stress that I'm not trying to paint a bleak and misogynistic picture of women in this book. With shit tests, women aren't trying to deceive men. Most women genuinely have no idea how their own sexual pathology works, since we live in a society that tells women they can do nothing wrong so long as there is a man in the picture to blame. Ask yourself, don't ask her, why does she want a boyfriend? Notice I didn't say, why does she want me to be her boyfriend, but why does she want a boyfriend? That's because, with many women, even though her affection for you appears exclusive, you are simply the most convenient and available stand-in for an emotional masturbatory device. Many times, women don't want you as a boyfriend, they just want a boyfriend, and you happen to be the only taker. Why should you be wary of this? Because if a girl simply wants a boyfriend, and doesn't want you as a boyfriend, this is the kind of girl who will absolutely cheat on you the second she runs into a man who is better than you. This especially includes that ex, or an old friend from her past who conveniently appears in her life and starts begging for her back the minute you do become her official boyfriend. In my experience, the girl will go for her ex every time, especially if he was the one who ended the relationship and had power that way. Just you watch, if that girl who was begging you to become her boyfriend ends up miraculously finding a new boyfriend the very next week or day, that's evidence that I am right and that you, sir, just dodged a deadly female bullet. Few things are more satisfying in life than this. This is a two-way street, by the way. Girls make this exact same thought process with the guys they meet and hook up with. See the previous section. Why do girls ghost away from me after a hookup, if you don't get it yet? She is being as critical of you if you wanted to be her boyfriend after a hookup, as you would be of a girl you hooked up with who wants to be your girlfriend now. The girl is examining your motive. Does he really have feelings for me, or does he just want to keep me around because I'm his only option? This critical examination comes instinctually to women, since they're forced to analyze men so much more often than us because they have more options than most men do. And, please, don't even bother asking her why she wants you to be her boyfriend. You can't get a reliable, honest answer from a woman, especially not the one who is putting up the biggest facade of her life to get what she desperately wants. She might be different than all the other girls, but you still must apply the same analysis that I'm outlining in this book before you move forward. Avoid breaking up with a girl. When I tell you to avoid breaking up with a girl, I'm not saying to stick around in a relationship you don't want to be in. I'm distinguishing the difference between overtly and covertly communicating you are no longer interested in dating this girl. Always choose covert communication. If you're lucky, you might just stop sending her messages and never hear from her again. I would not consider this the same drippingly pathetic and psychologically traumatic crime of ghosting, unless she is sending you multiple messages and you are clearly ignoring her or straight up blocking her. However, if this is the case, you should avoid ghosting her and choose a different strategy. If you play your cards right, you might never have to end the relationship yourself. When I used to fret about how I was going to word my breakup speech or whether I should dump her at all, I realized that if I just sat back and waited for things to turn out the way I suspected they would, the problem of whether to end the relationship would solve itself over time. This worked when I was sure one girl I was still talking to weeks after I hooked up with her kept trying to push our relationship to higher levels. I was suspicious of her motives. I was fairly certain she just wanted a boyfriend, instead of wanting me as a boyfriend. I was also certain, given that she had recently moved across the country, that she would fall for just about any guy who gave her a bit of attention. Instead of letting my suspicion dictate my behavior, however, I waited until I had evidence. Sure enough, within a week after she professed her undying love to me, this girl told me that an ex she had once been close with was reaching out to her, and that she was struggling whether to be with him or me. That was the red flag I needed. I nipped it in the bud right then and there. She couldn't blame me for being a player if she was the one doing some soft cheating. No more debate. If your relationship turns sour, you never want it to have been your fault that things ended. Don't worry too much about her feelings when you dump her. Chances are, nearly no woman, no matter how emphatically she professes her true love to you, cares half as much about you as you do about her. Women have options. The worst that happens, she spreads a mean rumor about you and finds a new guy by next week. She will get over you much sooner than you'd ever get over her. I can't tell you how many times I have seen this happen. A guy starts banging one girl, she falls in love with him, he thinks he is an alpha master and breaks up with her to pursue another girl or more girls. Within a week, he realizes that he's not the alpha master he thought he was. He forgot just how much he was rejected by a million other women before landing his current girl. He cracks under the pressure of loneliness, and comes groveling back to his old girlfriend to profess his mistakes and rekindle their relationship. But, what do you know? His ex-girlfriend, finding it much easier to discover available males just as attractive as her ex, is contentedly secure in a new relationship. This chump screwed himself over by dumping her. What I'm saying is, if you're going to break up with a girl, it should only be because you'd rather risk being alone again for quite some time, even if you are talking to other girls, than deal with another second of your girlfriend's crap. Don't burn your bridges. Don't press the block button and wipe out every bit of a girl's evidence from your life as soon as you're finished with her or you think she's finished with you. Our lives go through seasons. Some seasons, your desires align with a girl's, other seasons, you simply aren't both on the same page. Keep every girl you meet in your pocket, because some girls just might make good friends after your night together or after your relationship ends. It doesn't happen often, but it's happened to me. She might ghost out on you because another guy entered her life. But karma might dish her the same medicine, and put her right back in the single box with you. You don't want the memory of a bad falling out to tarnish what could be a miraculous second chance, do you? I'm not saying to bank on a girl ever coming back. It's rare. But there's no point to burning your bridges except satisfying your own pride and ego as a victim of women's rejection, rather than a detached alpha man who couldn't give less of a damn. I've been surprised more than once, even after I forgot whose number belonged to who on my phone, hitting up a girl months or a year after we did something, she's still single and ready to hang out with me. Chapter Review. Summarize main 5 points of chapter. Here are the 5 main takeaways of this chapter. 1. Practice plate spinning. The more options a man has, the more powerful he is. A woman is attracted to power. So ask out as many women as possible from online dating. 2. Don't text a girl from online dating too often or too frivolously. Keep yourself reserved and mysterious, and save yourself for when you actually meet. 3. Girls meet online and have a one-night stand with will ghost on you because they see you are a fuckboy, only good for sex but not to be trusted. 4. Don't spend any money on a girl unless she's actually having sex with you. 5. In order to avoid getting depressed after having sex with a girl you met online, practice a mindset based on abundance and your overflowing options, not scarcity.